money's on the screen tonight. Secrets out in plain sight. Luxury homes at half the price. Making.
Hey everyone, so today's video is about what's going on. This is actually a main topic, one of the main topics on the election debates, and this is the immigration crisis. Now, I think it is so obvious. I was thinking to do the video, overthinking it, like, should I do a video? Should I just not do it, ignore it? Because it's really, really obvious. Now, as an immigrant, I think it's important for people to know point of view of people who are first generation immigrants in this country, which I love. America, I appreciate it. It's not always right, everybody has their own mistakes. I like the saying by the Trump. He was asked, I believe it was one of the Bill O'Reilly, I think. He asked them to consider Putin a killer, and he answered, like, you think we're so innocent? I mean, every country has its pros and cons. Nowhere in the world you would get opportunities that you can get in this country, business-wise, obviously. Nowhere in the world you cannot be, as Ronald Reagan famously quoted, you would not go to France and become Frenchman, or you would not be able to go to Italy and become Italian, same with Japan, but in America you can become an American. This is the greatest thing then. So far, geographically, I think humankind was able to come up with. Immigration. Why United States has immigration crisis in the first place? Well, I think first of all, it's poverty, crime, wars, Helsinki Convention. Obviously, you probably know the first and second, but many people do not know what the Helsinki Convention is now. Also known as a refugee convention. This pretty much says that if a person is being persecuted in home country, he has the right to go to any UN member, tell them that he's being persecuted, and that specific UN member is obligated to accept them, start treating them as their own citizen. This law gets abused. People who are not being persecuted, people who has nothing to do with political situation in their home country, they come here and pretend to be persecuted, and unfortunately they go pass through, so they're being accepted as residents. Although I think it's wrong. Most of the time, those guys, when they're coming here, they already know that they're going to be accepted, although they might be lying. The first thing that they would do on the border before entering this country would be violating the law. I think there's definitely a need for a tighter control. The United States should stop accepting everybody left and right. Now, the problem with this situation is that whenever government wants to do something, it almost takes them forever. This is why I think it would be perfect idea, and it doesn't matter who will win the elections. I'll be honest with you, I'm leaning towards more Republican sides, although with some questions I'm radically against what they're saying, but most of the things they makes more sense to me. Bringing a guy like Elon Musk to the government, that will create magic, trust me. There's a famous case where NASA was trying to launch a rocket to the Mars, I believe. President Obama was trying to get an inquiry from them, and they told him 100 billion and 10 years. Elon Musk did it, I think he spent less than $1 million. He did it, I think, in 1 or 2 years. So the point I'm trying to make is that whenever you have someone who is on point, who can focus on strategic tasks, those guys can get things done. Now, that guy has proved that he can get things done. Like him or not, many people are speaking against him. Still think that he could be very efficient, especially with cost cutting. Thank you for watching, and I would like to mention that this video is sponsored by my company. We help landlords to maximize their rental income. Normally, we take the property, say it's been rented for $3,000. We help landlord to make about $5,000 and charge about 10% from the profits. This is what we do. If you guys interested, if you're a landlord and looking for that company that could help you with getting more rent, just letting you guys know, I'm also a realtor in California. Any part of California you're looking for real estate, property for yourself, live with a family, or for investment, I'm your guy. Feel free to hit me up in the DM. Now, there is a famous video on YouTube by John Strassel, how the government was trying to build a toilet in the park that cost close to $1 million.
I was expecting gold-plated fixture. It's just a toilet, a couple urinals, 2 sinks, $2 million?
And this is completely, as an immigrant from the third world country, I cannot make sense of it. Like, how you can spend $1 million to build a toilet, unless it's a corruption, unless contractors who are benefiting from this building openly bribing the government, which happens in most of the countries. But the United States is almost impossible because there is a system of bad checks and balances. He was explaining that any company, randomly you would select any contractor, they will build it for probably like $20K, and government took it like about 2 years and $1 million to build. Now, For instance, in California, as a person who started a construction, I haven't even finished it. 2.5, almost 3 years ago, it took us 3 years just to redo an ADU. So there was an existing garage structure, and this should be considered one of the easiest cities to work with. Is actually Orange County. The problem is they send a different inspector every time, and different inspector has a different opinion. And then when I asked why they are doing this way, they told me that it's only way not to have them bribe. But it doesn't make any sense, because first of all, the government is not interested in having an entrepreneur finishing the project, because they're getting paid hourly, obviously. If there would not be a work to do, most of the time they would just either cost cuttings, which will probably make them to lose their job, or something will happen that will not benefit those guys. That's the second point why everything takes so long, and I think the immigration reform, it will take definitely long, even if they will try to push it. It's not that easy to do. I also want to mention that most of the time people who are crossing the border, they're nice people. They're nice people, they're hardworking people. There are thousands of stories of immigrants who immigrated this way. They had such an achievements, they added to American economy. But the problem is not always the case. I had a video in my channel about a tenant that had international warrant on it. He killed a person in Eastern Europe, and luckily FBI got him, and I had no clue what was going on. But yeah, that type of people can cross the border with a fake document, so they can just pay the cartel and come. But the worst part is, I watched the documentary the other day. There was a reporter, a Hispanic gentleman, who went to the border, did how many people die crossing the borders, how many people suffocate in the ocean, how many people die in the desert. And there were like lots of kids amongst them, and also the kids pretty much parentless. This is a tragedy, you guys. It cannot happen in the 21st century. It cannot happen in a place like America. I definitely think there should be some kind of reforms. Especially there should be an organization that will be strictly working with families and kids. Otherwise, those kids are going nowhere, you know. We're talking about the human trafficking. I never had a video about this, but it's one of the most popular topics. And nowadays, these topics are interrelated, so you have to understand it. There was actually a reporter that was talking about it, and he was specifically talking about Chinese nationals. I mean, that's the craziest part. He was saying that every person from China is ready to pay $35,000, and there are specific hotels in Colombia that work with those guys. Obviously, it will be much more profitable trafficking people from China instead of selling drugs for cartels, but again, this is something that needs to be tackled ASAP. Personally, I think there is a solution. Now, I had a horrible experience about 12 years ago when I was working as a translator for a gentleman from Middle East. I was translating to and from Ukrainian language. So he came all the way from Middle East to build a jail factory in Ukraine. So there's a jail, and this guy's business model was pretty much evil. He was trying to benefit on people being enslaved by the jail system, paying them pennies on dollars by building a factory that will manufacture a specific type of iron. Now, obviously, I worked with him 1 or 2 days. I stopped the project because it was just a horrible idea. You know, I don't think that type of project would, even if they will make money, that's not going to end well, because it's just a bad karma. You're pretty much making money on other people's slavery. Now, the idea itself, though, is very implementable, especially for the guys who are crossing the border. Most of them are grown men. I personally think most of them could be tested this way. You could just open some kind of factories, probably given to the small businesses, and have those guys starting a job, because whenever they cross the border, they become a liability for United States taxpayers. But if you will build a factory on the border, especially on the desert areas, those guys would be able to put in work, and if they would understand it's not like you come here, you get benefits, and you just chill here. You will have to work. You will have to prove that you're not coming here just to have fun, and no one is going to sponsor you except yourself. Open a factory that will require a hard manufacturer labor, and have those guys working in those factories while their cases are being processed. I think this would be the best way of creating a really good labor market, which will be also illegal, and which will prevent people just from coming and leading towards the system. Especially, I think there was a guy from Venezuela who was making a TikTok videos making fun of the United States, that all you need to just to cross a border and you get paid. Let me know what you guys think about this video. If you like it, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. and I will see you on the next one.
Nice, click that play button now. He'll show you all the how. Mansions and condos, wow. Afford it all with his know-how.